up, guys? It's Benny. Do you ever reflect on what you've gone through in life and you're like, damn it, I'm just so lucky to have survived that? Maybe it was your college binge drinking years where you nearly died of alcohol poisoning. Maybe it was a toxic relationship or something bad with your family, job, or work, and you were just happy to have bulldozed through all of that, and you just really can't believe you got away without a mental health crisis. And this is like me, watching old clips of Joe Biden and wondering, how did we even cover this? Like, you can go back and watch the tape. We certainly did cover it. And we are as aghast as I am today watching clips like this where Joe Biden just gets up in the middle of a live MSNBC interview. The questioner, Nicole Wallace, is in the middle of asking him a question, and he just walks out. They're just on live TV. Joe Biden doesn't know where the F he is. The cameraman deserves an award here for zooming out to show Joe Biden just wandering off stage. I guess at the time we posited that Joe Biden had crapped his pants and he needed to get off. And that's why he's, kind of standing like this and then wobbling off stage. We don't know. But do know this, that the Biden White House said while Joe Biden was crapping himself on live TV and falling while walking across the stage, a flat stage, falling up the presidential stairs to Air Force One time and time again, that he was sharp as ever. That's right. Biden allies say President sharp. Biden White House on Biden mental acuity after debate flop. He's as sharp as ever. Yes, a cognitive test is not warranted. Got it. Look at this. Look at this. White House sticks with the messaging that they've used for the past 3.5 years, that Biden's age, he's as sharp as ever. That's right. Got it? We lived through this. We lived through them publishing articles like this. Biden teams don't let him trip mission. The entire point of this is how they put Joe Biden in different shoes, made him meet with a physical therapist, had doctor recommend exercises for balance, just to get him to not fall directly on his ass every time he was in public. Like, this was, by the way, the same day that they published that article. You can see Joe Biden nearly fall down the stairs of Air Force One. Remember how they had to take the short stairs? You remember these humiliating small stairs off the belly of Air Force One instead of the epic stairs that Donald Trump takes every single day? Yeah. Anyway, the point is that there's no shortage of embarrassing Biden moments. And those moments continue to live on as the people who were defending Joe Biden as sharp, like Elizabeth Warren, have to defend those comments, even today, with left-wing podcasters pressing her. And this is just one of the best clips ever. Stumbling all over herself as she's repeatedly pressed on why she lied about Joe Biden's senility. Here we go. You aren't ready for this.
Saying that President Biden had a mental acuity. He had a sharpness to him. You said that up until July of last year.
I said what I believe to be true.
And you think he was as sharp as you?
I said I had not seen decline. And I hadn't at that point.
You did not see any decline from 2024 Joe Biden to 2021 Joe Biden?
Not when I said that. The thing is, he was sharp. He was on his feet. I saw him. Live event. I had meetings with him a couple of times.
Senator, on his feet is not praise. He can speak in sentences is not praise.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Look, the question is, what are we going to do now?
Okay.
I don't know who this wispy podcaster is, but this is good. There's a reason why this went viral. The reasons are this. One, Elizabeth Warren is completely lying, and you can see it. And she like snickers and laughs here when he's like, "Is he as sharp as you?" And she whinges. Look, she whinges and like creeps out. And then two, he just calls her out on her lies and her bullshit, which you never see happen on the left. And so, I mean, good on you. This is why it's going so viral. Stumbling over herself as she repeatedly pressed on why she lied about Joe Biden's senility. 1 full minute of Elizabeth Warren trying to find a way to squirm out of the lies that she told about Joe Biden. fit to run for re-election. Elizabeth Warren getting grilled about lying about the cognitive function is the best thing I've seen all day. Elizabeth Warren, when asked why she lied about Joe Biden fitness for office, has no answer. This is making headlines across the internet. And, well, it's actually a damn good series of questions. So, you take the victories that you can. Look at Elizabeth Warren, who can barely keep it together. When the guy asked her if she thought Joe Biden was as sharp as you, she laughs to herself. It was all an inside joke at your expense. Even Democrats don't believe that anymore. Natalie Winters had a perfect commentary at the White House for the media when asked about why there is a surge in independent media at the White House and why people trust them more than the corporate press.
People, and I'm sure you see this online every single day, who say you don't deserve to be here because you're not a real journalist. What's your response to them?
Well, I'm pretty sure the group of people in there spent, 4 years covering for someone who was essentially dead, and that's being charitable in my description of him, a president by the name of Joe Biden. So to all those people who are apoplectic over having new media voices, you guys failed, and that's why we're here.
The chair of the...
Got him. Got him. Chuck Todd is one of those guys who covered for Joe Biden, was a water-carrying propagandist, but he got fired or left his job. It was one of those two. And he hosted this MSNBC show called Meet the Press, NBC show called Meet the Press. And he had a pretty remarkable commentary after he was finally unshackled from all of his corporate media bonds, and what that is, golden handcuffs, right? Don't insult like the $10 million check he was making, right, to do Meet the Press. He finally let loose on what was actually happening. And it's worth listening to with Joe Biden. I hope the humiliation continues for these people. They should never be allowed to outlive what they did to the country. This harmed the country forever. They used a disease, a corpse like Joe Biden, in order to wreck the nation and in order to human traffic 20 million people in here. And we're going to be cleaning up their mess for the rest of my life. So it's worth understanding how they got away with it. Fraud like this.
What I think is outrageous about it is the notion that, like, the party didn't know. The Democratic Party did exactly.
I'll give you a story that I
did with Trump.
got raked over the coals on when I told this story about 6 months ago. I had a cabinet secretary, very off the record, cabinet secretary, right after the 22 midterms, ask me this question: how can Biden run again? Okay, this is a pretty high level. This cabinet secretary could never get a one-on-one in the Oval Office. Felt as if they were being prevented. This was not, no offense to HUD and labor, but this person wasn't at HUD and labor. And I'll just leave it at that. This is one of the big five. And they couldn't get a one-on-one meeting with her. I believe Blinken was the only one that ever got real one-on-one meetings. I don't think anybody else did. And it's because Blinken was in on it. And what do I mean by in on it? This is where I'm going to defend the press a little bit here, because I would argue, why did the country conclude that Biden was too old to be president? Because of what they saw based on the coverage we were giving. So, for instance, while we had Baghdad Bob-like spokespeople inside that West Wing about Biden, oh, he's never been better, he's never been this. It was us in the press who said, hey, look, he's taking the short staircase. It was us in the press that said, hey, he's only doing one event a day.
Well, in fairness, you got a former colleague of yours looked in the camera and told the audience, F you, if you don't believe this is the best version.
And this is why I'm not going to sit there and defend that. Right. There was a lot of what I call the partisan, the ideologic. Look, the people that are on cable news.
But you should. The media should.
But my argument is that the reason the public had concluded Biden was too old was based on their own observations. Well, how were they observing this? Well, we were the filter. So I'm not sitting here defending what many of my idiot colleagues would say, because I would sit there and say, how come, I couldn't get Joe Biden on Meet the Press. The last time I had Joe Biden on Meet the Press was May of 2020 in his basement. I never got him again. That wasn't an accident. They weren't going to put him on with anybody that was going to do a follow-up question because they were panicked, right? It was obvious. Now, the question was, the fair critique of me in this could be, should I have been more public in complaining about the lack of access to him? And there's a fine line there. For instance, unlike previous administrations, they cut down the number of journalists who were even invited to speak with Biden off the record.
Yeah.
And, there's a fine line between looking like you're complaining that you don't have access, right? Yeah. And so and frankly, I'm not interested in trying to make myself the story.
Right.
But it is, if you want to come at me, it's fair to say, how come you didn't shout it more from the rooftops? It's a fair critique, but I'd also argue that I did my best, at least to showcase the lack of transparency we were getting